All right, Daily Taoist here. Told you I was going to try to finish these 18s. I'm on 18C, and I got a D and an E to do. Let's see if I can blast you. I'm reading from my book, Tao of Taoism, using the Tao Te Ching to improve your life, based on Lao Tzu's book, the Tao Te Ching. Okay, so let's see. Now, where are we? We're on number 18C, page 31 of my book, and I'm claiming that Lao Tzu said, when families are organized and maintained by following rules, nature is ignored. Oh, darn it. This is where people put that battle between Confucius and Lao Tzu out there. Because this seems like it's at odds with him. And I'm kind of, like I said, most of the translations, of course, were like this. But I've come to have a broad understanding and realize that the two are completely in harmony. It's just, okay, here we go. But it's the same as like a speed limit. It's obeying the speed limits on the freeway. You can say, well, I don't want a speed limit. I want 100 miles an hour. Well, it doesn't matter. You've got to realize that organization is important, and that rules and following and maintaining those rules is important. Okay, and that's all that Confucius is saying, is that rules are better than not having rules. And so, and it's saying here that nature is ignored. Well, that's true. We're ignoring nature when we go 65 miles an hour. You should be walking. You're defying nature in that car. But anyway, the nature of that car is to only go so fast, and the nature of the turns is to only go so fast, and the nature of the traffic is to not go too fast, to run into the car in front of you. So there's all these natures, all these Taos going on all the time. So even when we completely change and create a mechanical nature, we're still creating a mechanical Tao, a new nature within the real big natural Tao. Building a city, on this planet is an unnatural environment, but it's still connected to the Tao. And within the environment of the city, there's a different kind of Tao that if you go out of the city and sleep in the forest, as opposed to sleep between two buildings, it's a little different between two trees and two buildings. So anyway. So here we go. So this is not the battle between Confucianism and Taoism that everybody makes it out to be. They are in harmony. When families are organized and maintained by following rules, nature is ignored. That's not true, because nature requires harmony. If you go to a pack of wolves, there's certain rules that they have to keep the cubs, from wandering off and getting eaten by another animal. So all nature has rules, and this translation needs, it's not. Anyway, you can see how it misleads people. Okay, so nature, but we'll say nature is ignored. Okay, so in that sense, we'll say it's kind of right. Okay, so I'm not going to have to rewrite this, but we're saying we're ignoring the nature that says we're supposed to be walking. We're saying we're in a car, we're going to go 65 miles an hour. When you were born, I don't think that was predicted, saying, oh, he's going to be cruising at 65 miles an hour in a machine sometime. So anyway, you're defying nature. That's something you created and you've imposed on nature, okay? So you're ignoring nature while you're in that car. You're ignoring the wind. You're rolling up the windows so you don't even feel the air that's outside. So you are ignoring nature. So in that sense, you're right. But it's not saying that it's a problem, it's a bad thing. So just remember that. Sometimes people don't react to this information. Try to figure out how to use it. See, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to show you how to use it. Here we go. What rules were you raised by that seemed unfair but simplified your parents' control? I'm a parent, I know this. You make rules that the kids don't like, but it makes your life simpler. Like keep them in the house, don't let them run out where you can't see where they're at. So you make all kinds of rules to keep life simpler for you that the kids may not appreciate at all. What rules do you employ that simplify life? That was a big general. I didn't say whose. I guess I'm saying the whole life around you. What rules do you employ that simplify life? I know of one woman who liked to simplify her life by having the kids watch TV. So that was how she simplified her life, was by having the kids watch TV. Although a contemporary of Confucius, why does it appear he conflicts? Why does God? I was talking about that already, Confucius and Lao Tzu. What does it take to keep a family organized? Rules. You can't do it without rules. Yeah, but I'm sorry, I shouldn't answer your questions. What does it take to keep a family organized? You answered. There's all kinds of answers. Sorry. I said, I'm sorry. I'll interject again. When should parents get a divorce? When should parents get a divorce? I got scolded a year ago. Somebody actually doesn't like me and got mad at me when he found out I'd been divorced. He's a fellow Catholic. Weird. I hadn't had anybody get mad at you for being divorced for a long time. But anyway, he was saying, oh, she get back. She's already remarried somebody else. But the whole concept about getting a divorce, when should parents get a divorce? Okay. What is an ideal family, in your opinion? What is an ideal family? You should write that down on a piece of paper and say, oh, when I get up in the morning, my family does this, my wife does this, my kids or dogs or whatever. Maybe your family doesn't have it. Maybe it's all pets. I don't know. But what is your ideal family? Your ideal family. Not the one well, actually, if you start writing it, you realize, hey, this is my parents' ideal family, but I don't know if I buy into this. That might be good for you to realize. So anyway, just write it down right now. Let's see what it is, okay? Because you might actually realize you've been fooling yourself. What is an ideal family? In your opinion, I put that in parentheses, so I guess I was trying to lead you to your own answer. What do you know about filial piety? Huh? Americans don't know anything about that. It's so embarrassing, Americans. But filial piety is the most important thing you can learn in family structure. Well, I answered one of your questions earlier. What do you know about filial piety? Filial piety is the one thing that has in the Asian cultures has proven to provide success and huge success. It's the filial piety, I think, has created an amazing amount of success. Now, obviously, there's downside to it too. If you're, when I was, like I said, I've been buying kung fu weapons since the 70s in Chinatown, and so I got to know a lot of the store owners, really personal over the years, going in there on a regular basis, and their kids grew up. I watched their kids in the store, and then they grow up and they go to college and they leave, and I haven't seen them. Well, 10 years ago, last times I was visiting there and buying weapons with my students, I was talking to them, and they were like, these people are all old, older than me, and they're retired, and their kids don't want to have anything to do with the stores, and they've gone on to their own businesses or other careers or whatever it is. But by filial piety, their kids would run that store and take it over. But you see, that would maybe be more like an imprisonment, to put them in that position to take over that store. And they don't want, I want to go to college, I want to go to Europe. And they're stuck running a, Chinese, merchandise store. So filial piety can unfortunately go astray. In my own kids, I pushed that on my own kids about them wanting to run the school, and I finally had to realize that no, this wasn't right for them to take over my kung fu school. But that's the normal thing in Chinese, and even the martial arts thing is your kids grow up and take it over. In fact, a lot of martial artists who passed away have died, and then they go say, well, where are their kids? And their kids didn't do their martial arts. Like Bruce Lee's daughter never did any kung fu, and she's running the organization. And Parker, I think, I think he's very famous as a martial artist, but his kid didn't graduate the system, although I think since then they tried to train him and beef him up so he could kind of keep that thing going to represent the lineage of these other people who followed. I don't know, there's all these things about propping people up into that filial piety thing that didn't even exist, and they're trying. So it's kind of an interesting thing. How would your family be structured the same as your parents' family? Oh, I'm gonna hurry, I'm assuming my 10-minute mark. How would your family be structured the same as your parents' family? In other words, are you following and if your parents have a good thing and it's going good and you follow it, then that's great. See, that's the problem with President Trump. He followed into that suit, but he wasn't suited for it. He doesn't have the acumen, the talent, the ability, or the honesty to do a real estate business. He's a crook. He's a liar and a cheat. And that's not the kind of person you want to do business with when you're doing real estate, especially big money like that. Cheating people out of little money is bad and horrible, but cheating people out of millions of dollars, it's the same thing. Okay, here we go. Describe someone's family that you envy or respect. There you go. So you can start over. Maybe you were born in the wrong family. Say, I wish I was part of that family. Well, look at that and structure that. Just decide what your reality, your Tao is. Remember, this is the Tao of Taoism. There's all these different realities, and none of them are wrong unless you're the wrong place at the wrong time and the wrong Tao. They can't be right. And so that's what your goal is, to make the right Tao around you. Should a wife obey her husband? Okay, remember, I wrote this 30 years ago before I actually learned Confucianism and everything like this. But there's a question that'll open up a lot of understandings for you, because this is very important. Should a wife obey her husband? And there's certain, if you're a Methodist, they took it out of the vows. A wife never says she will obey her husband. Okay, should a husband obey his wife? Okay, I'm not sure what your other answer was, but what's your answer to this one? Should a husband obey his wife? Who should the children obey? The mother? The father? Nobody? I don't know. Who should the children obey? How do you teach children to be obedient? Oh, 10 minutes. How do you teach children to be obedient? Or do you? Or should you? Some people don't think you should. So, okay, there's your questions. And now let's go back to the very beginning of this and see what Lao Tzu said and see how if I kind of led you to integrate that into your life. When families are organized and maintained by following rules, nature is ignored. Let's look at that as a positive. If people's nature is to be selfish and greedy and do terrible things and run out in the street and get run over, then we want to basically ignore their nature and say, no, this is the new Tao and this is what you should do. And forget your nature and your wants and your desires. You need to fit into this Tao, this artificial nature that I'm creating, which is my Tao. Okay, so hey, there's the positive in this, is that you sometimes need to ignore nature. You need to ignore your desires in order to get something accomplished correctly. Daily Taoist out of here under 10:59. Whoop, I missed the button.